Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon, and thank you for that welcome. Let me begin by paying my respects to the families of those who were tragically lost their lives in the recent floods that affected Seoul. When my country, Australia, was devastated by bushfires in 2009 and floods in 2010, we received good wishes from around the world, including from the people of Korea. And so this afternoon, on behalf of my country, let me extend the same courtesy to you and your nation. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. I'm very excited about this theme, initiating changes in education for global leaders, because I'm passionate about international education and the provision of a genuinely international educational experience for all students. I hope my presentation today might reinforce for some of you what you already are doing or what you believe in terms of providing or receiving an international educational experience for your students or your children. Or that my presentation might stimulate you as an educator, as a parent, or as a policy maker to think about what you can do to change current practice in order to embrace a truly genuine international educational experience for all. As principal of a large independent school in Melbourne, Australia, and as chair of the Round Square Global Network of schools, now numbering over 100, of which the host of this forum, 청심 International Academy, is one of those members. This afternoon, I would like to share with you the why, the how, and the what of my experience of transforming a national, inward-looking school into a recognised leader in the provision of international education to our students. We have a reason, the why. We have a theoretical basis, the how. And we have practical, real examples, the what, which includes our membership of Round Square. And this transformation, I might quickly add, has not been at the expense or competing with academic outcomes. Rather, it is indeed complementary. Let me explain. First, let's consider the question, why international education? There are many, in my view, compelling reasons why schools and systems of schools should develop an international educational approach. The World Council of Curriculum Instruction some years ago spoke about the responsibility of educators to promote equity, peace, and social justice, and that this would occur as a result of the embracing of international educational ideals. If we look at the positive reasons as to why we should be embracing international education, go no further than the quote from Dr. Torres: "A truly international education is the way to work towards a better world." On the negative side, the converse is also true. The consequence of schools and countries adopting a narrow focus and a narrow educational experience is one that will be prone to reinforcing narrow and culturally insensitive viewpoints. And that is at odds with the notion of social justice and a better world for all. It's important also, I think, that we recognise that international education is a process. It's not a fixed quantity. It's not a body of knowledge that you can learn, but it is indeed an individual transformation from national to international, from local to global. And so in embracing the international educational ideals, one is indeed taking the student on a personal journey that in the end will ensure a fulfilling and active life in the 21st century. We talk about, at our school, developing global competencies with our students, developing skills and characteristics that will make them effective global citizens in their study, in their work, and in their socialisation as they enter adulthood, enter the workforce, and take their place in the world. Developing global competencies helps students establish their identity at different levels, allows them to be more outward looking, builds cultural understanding amongst the key players of a school, students and staff. And so our aim is to develop these characteristics in as many of our students as possible. Developing an international approach to education also does something very strongly for the school. It builds, in this day of an interconnected world, it builds public confidence in one's school amongst the key stakeholders, the parents, the past students, the staff, and of course the students. Global competency is not, as I said before, institutional. It is for the individual to embrace. And what is it? What is this intangible notion of global competency? It's knowing about other people. It's knowing about other people's attitudes, people who are different from us, but that we can respect and better understand the perspective that they bring to a common problem. It's developing the ability to interact with other people who are indeed different from us and who have a different cultural identity and a different viewpoint on things that we see through our narrow prism. Let me give you two examples. Some studies undertaken in Australia some time ago. The proportion of people who feel that it's pointless, of no use, for them to act on environmental issues. The proportion of people who studied about global issues at school showed a marked difference whilst at school and after leaving school to respond to that, realising that they could make a difference compared with those who did not study global issues within their school setting. And another, the proportion of people interested in making a positive contribution through social action. Those that are engaged actively at school, in international affairs, in international interaction, saw that absolutely as something that they wished to be engaged in after leaving school, as compared with those who had not studied about global issues. We must acknowledge that our schools are global enterprises. Our students, like it or not, are global commodities. Students will study overseas. Students will work overseas. Students will socialise and maybe marry into another culture. Students, as they become adults, will live overseas. What schools have to understand is what can we give our students that others don't have? What is that edge that we can give them to ensure that they can take an effective place in the interconnected global village that we now live? My view is that if we limit the educational experience to just what happens in the classroom and just what is directed by national examinations and by university entrance tests, then we are bordering on being negligent to our students, to our children, in equipping them with the skills that will enable them to become effective global citizens and international players that they will want to be as they become adults in this century. Many of you would know of the global tests of TIMSS and PISA, which measure literacy and numeracy and other content-based studies at schools in many countries, initially the OECD, around the world. And governments have invested millions of dollars in educational outcomes based on the results of these international tests. What we need to do is to find measures of global competency, identify how we can determine the skills that are being developed by our young people in schools in terms of their international mindedness and their awareness of global and international affairs.